Welcome to Permission to Shift, the show that helps you remove limits, transform fear, and create a life you're excited to live. Today's guest is Michelle Kulp. She has a great motto: work less and earn more. Michelle is an international book launch expert, book publishing specialist, and #1 best-selling author of 8 books, including Find Your Passion, Girl Boss in Training, Quit Your Job and Follow Your Dreams, and Never Work Again. Through her Amazon bestseller program and her 12-month mastermind program, Michelle teaches women and a few select men how to build businesses that nourish the soul and how to become a highly paid authority in their field. She also assists them in fast-tracking their business goals and in realizing their dreams. Michelle currently runs the blog Become a Six-Figure Woman and is the creator and owner of the best-selling author program. So hello, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You're welcome, Anna. So happy to be here.
Oh, it's awesome to see you. You are literally one of my, and I say this to a lot of people, but you are one of my favorite humans. I have a lot of favorite humans.
I got my top 10 and you're one of them. And I feel privileged to be in the top 10.
You definitely are. You definitely are. So for those of you who have never met Michelle before, Michelle is just a fantastic human. And you would have heard in the introduction, she went through and she wrote 1 book a month for a year. And it was a pivotal transformation in her writing and in her life. But before we get into that, Michelle, can you give everybody watching today a quick summary of what got you to the moment when you decided I need to make that big shift?
Well, I guess it was years of helping authors write their books. So since 2013, I've helped over 300 authors write, publish, and launch a best-selling book. Except that I wasn't really writing a whole lot of my own books, because when you're busy helping other people, you kind of put yourself at the bottom of the list, as many women do. And so, I mean, I wrote sporadically. I think I had a book in like 2012, 2015, 2018. But, writing a book here and there, it doesn't really work as a marketing strategy, right? And to get people to notice you online. And so what happened actually was in December of 2019, I read a blog post by Written Word Media, and it said that the average author who has 6 figures in passive income has 28 books on their catalog. And I thought, I have no idea why I thought this, but I said, oh, I'm going to write a book a month and I'm going to test this theory. And that's really where it came from. I mean, that was like, it was just an experiment. And it was kind of just, it wasn't like I didn't publicize it right away. I was just like, yeah, this will be cool. I'll write a book a month. And it made me feel better too, because I was like, I'm always busy helping everyone else. I'll put myself at the top of the list. I'll be forced to, right? I'm committed to writing a book a month. I'm all in, right? Well, guess what? The first month that I decide to do this, my daughter breaks up with her ex and moves in with me with a 2-year-old. And then COVID happens and I'm trapped in the house with the 2-year-old and I'm writing a book a month where I need silence and concentration and focus and all that stuff. So when you make plans and they say God laughs. So I made plans and then all this crazy stuff happened. But thank God I actually started telling my clients. I had it on social media. I had put it out there to a lot of people I knew. And guess what? Everyone was going, how's the book a month going? How's the book? And I was like, darn, I can't get out of it, because I think I would have quit. I think
Really?
After month 1, I would have quit if I didn't have the accountability piece with everybody going, how's that book a month going, Michelle? And I was like, darn it, I gotta do this, even though it's hard. It was harder than I thought, even though I did these for clients. Mine is a 12-week program, my best-selling author program. So I had 12 weeks to help somebody write a book, edit, publish, cover design, launch to bestsellers list. I'm talking about 30 days. So that's like a third of the time to do what I was doing in 12 weeks. I didn't realize how hard it would be. It's easy, like the idea, write a book a month, but executing on a book a month was hard. The accountability was huge for me. That is really what made me stick with it and do it. And it was a very transformational process for a few reasons. One is I realized if you have too much time to do something, then it never gets done. And the second
Mhm.
thing was you don't really know what's going to stick. Like I always say, the market decides. You can write, 12 blog posts, 12 books. Even Seth Godin said that. He goes, I don't know what's going to go viral. I just write, you know what I mean? And then things go viral. Like he doesn't have a crystal ball. I don't have a crystal ball. But what I do have after writing 12 books is I have my top three number one bestsellers now, and I know what they are and I know what resonated with the market. And I go all in on those books with my marketing and my advertising. And I have an online course with one of them, and it really changed my life.
Talk to me more about the obstacles, because I think this, even whether you're writing a book, whether you're changing careers, whether you're trying to make your relationships better, whatever it is, there you're going to encounter some of the same obstacles that you just mentioned. And accountability was one of them. You mentioned fear also. What were some of the other ones? And you can maybe talk about fear a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, the fear thing, there's the only industry I know that has block after the title, writer's block. You don't hear electrician's block, painter's block, plumber's block. I don't know, whatever. You don't hear any other industry. They don't talk about a block. But with writers, like you're facing the blank page and the stuff has to come from deep inside you. And you don't know what it is until you start to write. You've got to get it out of you. And that's why it's so scary, because it's really literally the unknown. You have no idea what you're going to write about. You can write an outline and you can have a working title and all those things, but until you sit down and face the blank page, you don't know what you're going to write about. And then, of course, you're always scared of like, well, how are people going to receive it? Are they going to like it? Is it going to, like the whole marketing aspect and the success of the work, instead of just really writing just to get it out and write and share your story. Then we have this, like, we're balancing it with like, we want it to be successful and we want it to make money and sell and all those things. But I think the first part is really just getting it out, facing the blank page, and not allowing those the fears to consume you. I don't know if it was Stephen King or somebody who said like he was working on a book and he wrote 200 pages, and then it was on the next page that he realized that's where the story started, and he threw away the first 200 pages. Sometimes you don't know what the story is until you write it. Like a lot of fiction authors say this, like the characters tell them where they're going, what they're like. I don't write fiction, but you got to get it out, and then you figure out what the story is as you're writing it. That's what's scary, is you can't predict it or outline it, or you just have to sort of just let it unfold naturally.
I really love what you were talking about just there, about our attachment to our own thing. Because if Stephen King would have been attached to those first 200 pages,
Yeah.
he would have stopped writing.
Yes.
Did you encounter that?
Oh my gosh, if you go on my computer right now, there's probably 10 books I started during that 12-month period, and I would get 40 to 50 pages in and I go, I don't feel it anymore. I'm not feeling the energy around it. I'm not feeling it. And I would start over 2 weeks into the month. Now I have 2 weeks left to write a book. And so I would abandon projects. I don't know if that was like self-sabotage, but really I was just trying to go with like where my energy was. And somehow after I started writing about a topic, sometimes, like, I think I was working on one book about introverts. I always loved that book by Susan Cain called Quiet. And people always think I'm an extrovert because I talk and do interviews, and I'm the biggest introvert there is. I don't like being on camera. I went to Toastmasters for 6 years. I did speaking circles for many years. I had to overcome my fear of public speaking. So I thought I'd write a book about introverts. And about 40 pages in, I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling it. So I stopped writing a book about introverts. Maybe one day I'll pick back up. But anyways, my point is I did like kind of track my energy with the topic. And I think that's the problem, is you may think, this is the book I'm going to write, and you get very attached to it. But if you're not really connecting with it, then, I think you can shift gears and you can write something else. And that's what I did several times during the writing process, was I did shift gears.
How do you use energy as a prompt? You use that term. You were saying that energy guided you, your energetics around the projects. How did you tap into that?
Well, I meditate every morning and then I journal right after that. And I think like it would be like during my meditation, like where I would just, like you kind of connecting with like your body more. Like I'm very like left brain intellectual. I was a paralegal for 17 years. So I go very much on the masculine side, the left brain side. And years ago, I went to therapy and my therapist said, Michelle, your biggest problem is your heart and your head are not connected and we need to connect them. So I know I have this problem, it's not something like, I overcame. It's something I have to work on continually. I tend to intellectualize everything and make it logical instead of connecting with my heart. So during the writing process, I tried to go more into my energy around the topic. And I did that when I was like meditating, because that's when my left brain was turned off.
Moving from your head into your heart. Okay, we need to talk about this one because this is seriously a lot of
I'm not
people.
an expert on the hard stuff. So it's
No, but
hard.
I feel, and for anyone who doesn't know, I am energetically connected to Michelle. She's one of my spirit animals. But I get stuck in my head. I do. I get stuck in my head because I want to know the answers. I want to control the
Yes.
outcomes. I want to know, do, speak, say in the right way all the time. And it's not well, maybe it is perfectionism. It's not inauthentic per se. It's simply a constant analysis, I guess, that goes on. So how do you get out of that and down into here?
Well, Julia Cameron said in her book Artist Way that perfectionism is a closed loop. Like you never get out of it, because if you're always trying to create the perfect book, the perfect product, you know what I mean? A lot of times you don't create anything because
That's
you're
fair.
not willing to put it out in the universe and let people decide if they like it. You know what I mean? Like what I always tell my author clients, and maybe they don't like this, but I always say the market decides. I don't decide, but we are going to do keyword research, and we are going to do SEO, and we are going to, test images, and we are going to put our best foot forward. But at the end of the day, you have to make your creation and put it out to the universe and see what happens and let it go, and not try to baby, like they say, like your book's your baby, but you can't babysit the baby for its whole life. You know what I mean? You gotta let the baby go, and then do something else.
Which comes back to what you were saying earlier about attachment.
Yeah. That's
Let
really what it is. So I can relate with you as being somebody in a solopreneur, being very attached to me doing everything in my business. Yeah, it's an attachment thing. It's holding onto the reins really tight. It's being in control or thinking you're in control. And I'm sure you've had this experience where you've hired somebody and you go, oh my God, they do this 100 times better than I do. Why did I not hire this person sooner? Why was I thinking I was, you know what I mean? Like I was mediocre at best at whatever I was doing. And then I hired somebody and I was like, oh my God, I should have done that sooner. So it's like letting go of the reins, and trusting.
What do you do with your ego then? Where does your ego go?
Your ego goes gets put back on kitchen duty, like in the back of the house. You know what I mean? It's still there, but it's like you're going back there, and we're
So
connected.
when have you had a battle with your ego and how did it turn out? How did you get past it?
Oh, all the time with the book stuff. I mean, so a lot of times, like I said, you're balancing, like there's a book called Right to Market by Chris Fox. And he said he wrote a lot of books, but until he actually used keywords that people were searching for, his books weren't successful. So there's this whole balance, like people that are like, well, I want to be a pure creator. I don't want to use keywords and SEO. Well, that's cool. But how are your books doing? Because I know people that do that. They're very creative people. And unfortunately, people don't search for those, you know what I mean, for the titles that they have or whatever, and they never
Mm-hmm.
find the book. So you have to find your book. So I struggle with like my ego, wanting to do maybe a certain title or whatever, and then going, yeah, but these are the keywords that people are searching for. How are they going to find your book if we don't, so it's like this balance between, the ego and then sort of trusting like your intuition.
What I'm also hearing here, which is kind of interesting, we were talking about this before we got on here for the interview, but that whole idea of being seen and being authentic in your writing and in your stories, and how do you connect to people? So you're saying the audience decides what they want to see. And it's almost, yeah. How do
Yeah.
you feel
So
about
I
it?
like what you just said about being seen. And I'll tell you a story about that. Years ago, before I had my first website. So my first website in 2005 was becomeasixfigurewoman.com. And I really struggled. I went from, the law, being in the legal field, to sort of creating multiple streams of income. And I was doing a lot of different things. I was a reporter, I was teaching public speaking, and I was trying to start this website. And first of all, it took me like a year to figure out the website name. And then I was like, oh, well, what images, what design, what copy do I want to put on it? And another year was going by, and I wasn't, like, 2 years. And so I went to this, it was like a spiritual workshop or something. And there was this woman who I guess was like an intuitive. I didn't even know what that was at the time. And they said, anybody have questions? And I said, yeah, I have a question. I'm trying to decide, like, on the theme on my website and my colors and this and that and the positioning. And she, like, closed her eyes, and I guess she connected with my energy. She goes, it's not about the colors or the images. You're afraid of being seen. You're trying to hide. And this is your way of hiding. You don't want people to see you. And that was her answer to me. And I was like, damn, why couldn't she just tell me what colors to use on my website? It didn't matter about the colors. You know what I mean? We could spend months and years, and we do. We waste so much time. And especially if you're an introvert, I think, you really don't want to be seen. And so you hide. Like, maybe I was hiding behind all my clients' books and not doing my own books too. That might have been part of it. Like, hey, I'm helping all these people, but I'm not helping myself, am I? So when I did the book a month, I mean, that was me putting myself first, me being seen, whether it worked out or not, me trusting, me using my intuition. Like, it did really transform me on multiple levels doing that.
I noticed too, and you probably noticed this in your business working with clients, that when I'm talking to somebody and they're afraid of being seen, one of the things they'll do is find another project. So I can start doing my social media when I've made my course, or once the course is made. Well, I need to make sure that my website is set up properly before I put my course live, or there's always another step that they reach out to avoid the process of being seen. But if you're not seen, no one's going to buy your stuff.
Yes. It's really, that's why I do someday want to write a book about being an introvert in an extroverted world, because it's really hard. You want to be behind the scenes. I was watching a show last night, and the guy was like, yeah, I want to be like the guy behind the curtain. And I don't want nobody to know who I am. Like, like hiding behind. And that would be my dream. In fact, when I left the legal field and I started meditating and journaling and trying to reconnect with myself, I remember having the thought, I just want to write books and talk to no one. That was really my dream, was to write books and not talk to people. I know it sounds crazy, but and as I meditated, and this was back after 2000 when I left the legal field, as I meditated, I had a voice every day that said, if you ever want to be a successful writer, you better get over your fear of public speaking. That voice would not
Wow.
turn off. It led me to Toastmasters, which I hated, but I did it. And then I became president of Toastmasters Club. Then I became area governor of Toastmasters. Then I started teaching. I became a facilitator for something called Speaking Circles, which was about speaking from your heart, which changed my life too. But I listened to the voice. I didn't want to. I was like, no, I hate public speaking. What does speaking have to do with writing? But you see here, right? If you have a book, people want to hear from the author. They want to talk to the author. I don't know if you know Cal Newport, who wrote the book Deep Work. I listen to his podcast. I read all his books. I love him. And he has the same, I guess, I want to say, sort of struggle between, I want this deep work to write books, but if I'm like constantly like podcasting, interviews, then I don't have time to go do my deep work and write books. So there's a balance, but I do think it is a balance. You can't just totally hide, although some writers probably do, right? You never get to see them. They're a secret in hiding, hibernation.
Where do you think, while we're talking about hiding and being seen and introversion, where do you think the association is between being an introvert, not wanting to be seen, and the feeling and the connection to authenticity? And I'll explain this a little bit. When we feel totally able to be authentically ourselves, it doesn't feel like work. And then
Hmm.
we're able to show up. And do you think there's a connection between that feeling and the reason So many of us are introverted, and there's a great, huge number of us who are introverted. And it is that association between how much work it is to be in that environment just not being worth it versus I actually want to be alone.
Yeah, I think for me, like I don't I just go back to my childhood, and part of it was having a very critical mother, so I couldn't be my authentic self. You know what I mean? So I had to hide, and I had to pretend, and I had to do all these other things. You know what I mean? Because
Mm-hmm.
it was survival, and it was, trying, survival, and trying to fit in and all those things. So I learned how to hide and not be my authentic self, and to also be queen people pleaser of the world. I mean, especially in my family dynamics, I was the people pleaser, and sort of like keeping the peace between people, and I had the disease to please, and being what's the book by that psychologist? Nice girls don't get the corner office. I always did. I will be the nice girl. What's funny though, when you work as a paralegal in litigation, like litigation is all about wars and fighting. Like they called war rooms, where we had the files for the big cases. Like those were called war rooms, and so I learned how to fight, and I learned how to build cases, and conflict and all that stuff, which was really good. That was great training. And so I think for some people, maybe that whole hiding thing, maybe might be able to trace that back to something that happened, in your younger days, of why you're hiding. But it's also like a survival instinct. Like we think we're literally going to die if we put something out there and somebody says something bad. I guarantee you, if you write a book and put it on Amazon, you will get a bad review. Guaranteed, 100%. Somebody's going to hate your book and say you're the worst writer in the entire world. You should never write a book. I mean, they've said that about so many successful people. To me, if you're doing something really big, then you're gonna have that, and you have to have thick skin. Being in outside sales for 10 years did teach me to have thick skin, because you don't get, you have a lot of rejection in sales. And so I had to learn to have thick skin, and that was another good training. So I think everything in life kind of trains us to be our authentic self, but that's probably why a lot of people don't write books and don't put themselves out there. Like you said, they will say, well, I've got to get the course done. No, sell the course first, then get it done. You know what I mean? Put it out there, see if you can get people to pay for it, then create the course.
Do it first, then get it done. So what you did, basically, I'm going to write 12 books. I got no clue how.
No, I had no system. Now I do. And I have a course called 28 Books to 100K, where I put my system, but the system developed from doing it.
Talk to us about this system. I would love to learn more about this system.
So the system was, I keep a book of titles in my house. I hear titles like you and I were talking. Oh my God. You and I were talking earlier. Remember, I'd go, oh, that's a good title, and I'd write it down. So I hear titles, like I hear titles every day, and I read a book, and it might be something an author said in a sentence. I go, oh my God, great title. And I'll go put it in my title book. So I have this huge title book where I keep, ideas for books, for blog posts, for whatever. And when I need an idea, I just go to my title book. And so that's part of my system, is collecting ideas. And then, if you want to test an idea, you can write a blog post about it. You can write a social media post about it and see what resonates. Like Seth Godin was saying, he doesn't know what blog post of his is going to go viral, but you put it out there and see what people are resonating with. And so I did sort of have a system of, I would go to my idea, title book, and I wrote down, these are the 12 books I'm going to write for the year. And then, like I told you, probably I wrote half of the ones I wrote down, and then the other half shifted. And I allowed it to shift during that time, because I wasn't feeling the energy anymore, and it was okay. So then I went back and I figured out another book to write. And some of the books took off, and some of them, I launched them all. They all got to the bestseller status. And then, I marketed them, and then some of them took off and some of them didn't. You can't predict the success of any book. I don't care even if you're a famous celebrity, there's no guarantees. You can launch a book, and yes, you do have to do marketing and put it out there. So I think having like sort of the annual plan for what are my books going to be, right? And also writing in a series of 3. So that's what I teach my authors is like, don't write 12 different books on 12 different genres. Either write 12 books in one genre, or 6 books in one genre and 6 books in another. Or like I kind of did like, I did How to Find Your Passion, Quit Your Job and Follow Your Dreams, because I love helping people find their passion, purpose, career stuff. And then I wrote books for writers, 28 books to 100K, digital retirement, how not to write a book, publishing secret sauce. So I kind of like mixed up my genres a little bit, but I would always write in 3s, because people could get one book and then they go, oh yeah, well, let me get the next one. Let me get the next one. And then you can create a box set from there. So anyways, those are some of the systems that developed from me doing it, realizing, oh, don't make it be so like random, like actually have a plan. These are the books, these are the genres. Then after the year's over, you can go back and take those books, create box sets. I created some Spanish versions of my book. So this is all part of, the ongoing stuff that I learned in the course. And then take one of your successful books and create an online course on the back end of it, because people want to go deeper on the topic. And that's what I did. And I've sold over $10,000 of that course. It's a $297 course. I didn't even market it. I just kind of put it out there, and people started buying the course because they're like, yeah, I like the books and I want to take the course.
That is brilliant. And this is all outlined in your 12-week.
Well, no, this is a online course I have called 28 Books to 100K. It's on my website, Bestselling Author Program. So it is broken down into 10 modules. And yeah, I kind of go through writing a book a month, the process. I also give people my Rolodex. I know that's an old term, but I give them all my resources that I use for cover design, editing, formatting, like everything they need to actually do it. And then I teach them how to do a bestseller launch. I teach them about categories, keywords, SEO, how to launch. And then I teach them about Amazon ads. I teach them everything they need to know to be successful.
But
there's still no guarantees.
No, because with anything in life, it's up to did they do the work? Did they pay attention to the lessons? How did they apply the lessons? Did they just surface the work, or did they go deep with the work? Like there's all the levels of investment in there. So you'll get the investment that you invest.
Yeah. And what's interesting, so I wrote 12 books. I think the first book I wrote was How to Find Your Passion, 23 Questions That Can Transform Your Life. That's been one of the most successful books I've had. But then the other 2 really successful books didn't come till the end of the 12 months. And they actually are called Digital Retirement and 28 Books to 100K, where at the end I was like, oh, well, now I've created. So in 12 months, people wanted to know, well, how much passive income did you create? Because that was the experiment, like how. So I had $3,300 a month in passive income at the end of 12 months. In 18 months, I had $4,800 in passive income. That was pretty cool because I didn't have that before. And I was like, wow, it's like a house payment. It's like a car payment. After a couple months in, it was like a car payment. I was like, this is kind of neat. People could actually surpass their like Social Security income, their retirement income, and have this additional income if they wrote a book a month. So I created Digital Retirement. Those ideas took off, but I couldn't have predicted it.
That is magnificent. And how does this teaching that you do differ from your live teaching or your 12
Well,
weeks?
so the Bestselling Author Program teaching, the 12-week program, is a done for you service. So me and my team do everything for you. So I have ghostwriters, editors, we actually do it. So you can still write the book, and then, you work with us and we get the book published and launched and all that stuff. So it's more of a done for you service, where the course is me teaching everything I know and I've learned in the book a month system.
So even if we're terrible writers, we can go into your 12-week program and your ghostwriters will help.
Oh, absolutely. I have a phenomenal ghostwriter. She is an attorney and a part-time, well, actually she's a judge, an attorney, and she's written many books for my clients. She loves writing, and she has 4 of her own books, and she's phenomenal. So she's one of my top ghostwriters for clients.
Based on the legalese that I have written, when you say a judge is writing, I'm like, I've read legal speak.
She writes humorous books. That's the crazy part about the attorney. She came to the reason I met her, she came to I did an ocean writing retreat. And she came from Georgia to Maryland to my ocean writing retreat. We really bonded. And I was like, this lady is the funniest lady I know. How can she be an attorney and a judge? Because they're usually not very funny. They're very serious. But she was the funniest person I met. We really clicked. And I loved her writing. She writes a blog post every couple weeks. She's done 4 books that have done phenomenal. She's won a lot of awards. She's kind of like Irma Bombeck. Now that's going way back. People may not know who Irma Bombeck is, but that's the kind of writing she does. But she's also like a chameleon because she's worked in a lot of different areas of law. So whatever book I give her, she's just great at doing research and writing the book because that's what she does.
Wow. Wow. We need to have another conversation about what the heck ghostwriters do, because I have a feeling that my perceptions of it are radically different from what actually happens.
Yeah. I mean, there's different ways ghostwriters do it, but a lot of times they interview the author and they get the information and you kind of have like an idea of what the book is going to be about. And then the ghostwriter goes out and does some research and, writes the chapters, but tries to keep the author's voice. That's the hard part, is trying to keep the author's voice and the author's stories.
Well, obviously we have to do more of these, and
Absolutely.
we are going to be doing some master classes together. So if you are watching this right now, go visit annalang.ca.com, blah. I know my website. annalang.com. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom of the page, you will see events and what's ups, and you will see the master classes coming up. Keep your eye out for Michelle, and we will be doing some fun stuff together. And on that note, how does everybody here reach you and find these courses? I mean, your books are on Amazon.
Yes, books are on Amazon under Michelle Kulp, Kulp, and they can also go to bestsellingauthorprogram.com. There's a link there for a free module for my course. So module 1 is free and they can sign up for that on my website.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming out, for sharing your knowledge, expertise, and time with me and my audience today, Michelle.
You're welcome, Anna. Always a blast hanging out with you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.